Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. So, fingers crossed, send your prayers for the internet to hold up tonight. So, I'm on plugin, and even the plugins dropped out, and then the internet was sort of jumping in and out. So, hopefully, this is going through and you guys are seeing it. Let me just see. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys as well. So, yeah, if you're just joining us, please send prayers and fingers crossed for tonight for the internet holding up. Seems to be when I talk about certain subjects that, the internet will cut in and out sometimes. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And we are going to be also getting into light language at the end of this. So I wanted to just catch you up if you've missed some of the latest in ET UFO news and all the new terms and things that are being said. I wanted to just put it together in a bite-sized, easy to digest format, because a lot of these interviews and a lot of the disclosure things that we're hearing can be quite long and lengthy. So I just wanted to put it into a way that we can all digest quite easily. And we might even look into cards around this as well. So thank you for joining us. And I will just pop this up. Okay, so we have Sophie's love reading. If you guys are over in the Northern Hemisphere, it does expire today. So that is to get the 10% discount using the Valentine code. And I also have my readings available. So if you are into the ET, UFO, or starseed side of things, you definitely will be interested in one of these readings when we look into your galactic heritage. We do an aura drawing, which is assessing the energy and looking into if there's any different beings or guides around, look into your Earth mission, your future. And if you request in the reading as well, we can also look into light language activation. I really am led by what my clients' desires are. So you guys just tell me in your session like what it is that you're looking for, and we really will sort of narrow in on that. So that's what we have on offering. And thank you everyone for hitting the like, the shares, and subscribe. We're really seeing a difference. And we hope that it's bringing you these incredible shows via your algorithm too. So let's get into tonight. We're going to, and I can see we've got a lot of our soul tribe here. Thank you everyone for being in the chat. I love seeing you guys. And this is part of what I love with this interaction, this live too. So one of the first things that I have to share is, just bring this up. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today was covered in the PBD interview with Dr. Greer. There are certain other aspects and things that we'll look into that aren't in this, but I just wanted to try and summarize and give you a bit more of a brief overall look. And also News Nation has also been putting out a lot of ET UFO disclosure information. Ideally, it's not as fast as we would like, but it's still much better than, I guess, what we were seeing 10 years ago. But for those of you that watch the show, and for those of you that are starseeds, we also know that this is a very personal one-on-one experience. So that's why we're going to be doing the light language towards the end of tonight's episode, because this is about you guys activating, getting your higher self in alignment, and, you know, opening up to these positive, beautiful beings that are around. It's also very important to talk about protection. So we will also cover that too. Let me just take this down. I'm going to bring up another thing for you guys to look at. So this, I'm going to show a few clips tonight as well. And I'm just going to get the audio section of this working so you guys can hear it. Okay, so this was a little clip from News Nation. I might not play the whole thing because it does go for a couple of minutes, but essentially it's Area 51 veterans that have, when they were doing their catch up, they discovered that most of them had had tumors. And even in one situation, one of the sons had been, I guess, inherited the tumors as well. So we see these kinds of things with radiation exposure. I've been to Area 51 myself, has a really, really bizarre, definitely like a psychotronic warfare type feel. The 4 adults in the car, we all got strange headaches. And it was almost like how we've talked about in other episodes where you can get like almost like a a sonar type feeling or some kind of like mind speak or like a fear projection into the field. So there definitely was an immense wave of like fear energy being projected. Oh, I can hear see Jody saying you're getting ringing in the ears a lot or tapping in your ear a lot today. So yeah, I wonder what the Schumann frequency is also doing today. But yeah, it's interesting. Once you get out of the certain vicinity of Area 51, you no longer get this kind of like dread, you're going to die type feel. So that was really interesting. Could also be because we were on there around dusk. But let me play this clip for you.
Believe they were exposed to radiation during classified missions near Area 51 in the mid-80s to early 90s. Their work was so top secret, the Department of Defense still won't acknowledge their service in the desert. And they say that's a big problem. News Nation's Natasha Zuvas was the first to break the story and went to the Las Vegas desert as these veterans are getting sick and pleading for the government to help.
They keep us classified to protect themselves.
A group of Air Force veterans and a DoD contractor say they have been sickened, even disfigured, after being stationed in the desert in the mid-80s to early 90s.
Did you have any idea what you were being exposed to?
None. None of us knew.
These veterans say they served at the Nevada Test and Training Range, which encompasses the infamous Area 51, a remote spot that hosted nuclear testing both underground and atmospheric. Since the 1950s, their work so secret, there would be no record that the men ever served in the windswept desert.
It was the technology behind it. That's what we were there to make sure nobody got.
They still can't talk about most of their work on the range, but the one mission they can now disclose, guarding the F-117 Nighthawk, America's first stealth bomber.
We ended the Cold War, truly.
Oh, wow. The story begins with a reunion barbecue back in 2016 at veteran Dave Creet's Las Vegas home. Air Force buddies who hadn't seen each other in decades make a startling discovery.
So I asked the guys, we're just sitting around drinking beers. I said, you guys, I got this lump on my back. And I don't know, has anybody else got that?
I said, yeah, I had one of those. I had it removed. It was the size of a grapefruit.
6 out of the 8 vets had benign tumors called lipomas. The 7th said, I don't have any, but my son was born with one.
It just kind of confirmed it. There was an issue where we were. That's the one common denominator, is we were all there.
A DoD contractor who worked at the base at the same time as these vets sickened.
Yeah, they took his teeth out first because they had to scrape out a lot of cancer.
They had to scrape out a lot of cancer.
2 cancers, 80% of his tongue removed, along with his vocal.
Pause that one there. So yeah, it's quite sad what's happening, that there's not the level of respect and taking care of the veterans, especially when they dedicate their lives to looking after and protecting the country. It does go on to also talk about that they prevented and stopped certain conflicts and quite disastrous things from also happening. So it's quite sad that they're not getting that level of respect or just even the medical care too. And I can see Tim saying nuclear reactors on Navy ships are poorly shielded and most sailors who work on them die early. That's really, really sad. And I wonder if they also would sign up so quickly if they perhaps knew this too. And I can see Tim's also saying it's like the people who worked on the Bell Project, guaranteed illness working on these projects. Yeah, so not so good, but that was just released by News Nation, which Ross Coulthart, the Australian ex-60 Minutes reporter who does a lot of the UFO and UAP disclosure movement and talking to a lot of people coming forward. It was his station that put that out. So let's have a look into the next one that we're going to be talking about. The next thing that's been going around in the news, and I'll just pop this up, is we've seen this year already, and it was hard to find exact numbers because I had different references and different sources saying different things. I saw one thing saying that there was over 30 plane crashes already in the States this year. And then I saw other ones where they talked about, this one's the 4th major air crash in 15 days. So why are the planes falling out of the sky? Really, it's an interesting thing to ponder on. There are some ex-military also saying that it looks like missiles when they're seeing the crashes come in. It does not look like plane landings or helicopter crashes and things like that of that nature. So, you'll find more information online around that. I didn't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but let me pop up another window for you guys. I do have a video that I'd like to share with that. So this one, I'll stop it because I think it may have sound. Let me just see. And thank you for bearing with me. I do the tech. It's like being a DJ. It's like doing everything at once. Okay. So there's many, many videos like that where you're seeing some of these so-called planes make impact with the land. And some people have also remarked that there doesn't seem to be, I guess, shrapnel and debris around some of the sites. And then I hear other people say that there is. So we do know that a lot of these areas do get cordoned off and have preventative shields so that the public can't see, although they say it's in order to protect the public. So I guess that is a harder one to know, but it does seem quite strange, especially when you look into how often you hear of like airline crashes specifically. It's not something that we hear of all the time in the States. And Tim is also saying, Stinger missiles ground to air shoulder fire and easily concealed and transported by small cells. Thank you for adding like some of your experience to this, Tim. That's interesting. And Brett Marie, and they can influence the planes digitally. Yeah, so apparently even some of the helicopters can be operated just like a drone. Yeah, I'm running the Galactic DJ station today. And yeah, just as Rainbow Sun saying, you know, we've watched enough movies, we've watched enough footage and things like that, that I think the public is starting to really question the stories that they're being told at the moment. So yeah, that's, I guess, up for us to make our minds up about what this might be. And I'll just bring this up. So another great place to go and sort of check and keep up to date on what's happening is Dr. Stephen Greer. So he is still putting different things forward. And I know a lot of people on his channel are saying, you know, what about, you said 72 hours until major disclosure. So there's been that drip fed thing. I think no one's really felt fully satisfied. And I guess that brings up, you know, question and doubt and things too. And in the recent interview with Patrick from PBD podcast, it was also mentioned that Greer made claims that he was offered back, I think it was about when he was 36, so like 30 years ago or so. Oh, hey, John. Lovely to have you here to live with everyone. Everyone's sending you prayers and healing for your heart and wishing you well. And for Ken, for your shoulder, and anyone else that needs healing too. So let me just jump to this quickly. So there was in that episode with PPD, let me see if I can find it. So he did claim that this man, and let me see, this man, I think who was a colonel, let me see my little notes, general. So General Albert Stubblebine, interesting name, apparently offered Greer $2 billion with a B dollars to change the narrative and to steer, I guess, people in a different direction. So Patrick from PBD did find that a pretty outlandish claim. And he also said, wouldn't you receive an offer first and then work your way up? Where Greer responded to that with, you know, they knew his commitment. They knew the level that he was really tied in and that it was going to take a big number to try and shift and steer. And he even mentioned as well that this guy, Albert Stubblebine, also took the offer to Greer's wife, hoping to persuade her and flatter her, as he put it. So we also see here that there was, that this general actually worked on psychic warfare type technology and also training people to walk through walls. So you'll see that he was more of the, I guess we would say it was probably more the hidden projects that he worked on. You can see a lot of information if you go through. There's too much to read here, But I think you'll be interested to read like the conspiracy theory side of it. He also talked about like with September 11 here as well, that he's done like a little bit of the talking about that analysis of this. So he believes that it's not a plane that crashed into this. He also talks about with the swine flu that this was a genetically modified virus that was part of the World Health Organization. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that comes with this. So yeah, that was another interesting story. Another thing that we also see is a exclusive, which I think this was also on the I'm trying to get the name. I think it was the Sean Ryan show, perhaps. They had the Marine vet breaks 14-year silence to make astonishing claims that a 6-man unit saw a hovering octagonal UFO loaded with weapons by unmarked UFO forces who threatened them at gunpoint while serving in Indonesia in 2009. So I also heard this story a little while ago on something else. I can't remember exactly what it was. There is illustrations of what this looked like with the military in front of the UFO, and I think they may have even had it here. Oh, this is a sketch. There's more kind of like 3D rendering in that. That's quite cool. That's I think it was in that that Ryan podcast as well. So anyway, they did find that there was. Let me just read my notes. So there's two different things that I've heard with this. So there was one where there was human trafficking involved and people were actually being taken and transported. And this craft apparently was just levitating, this one that they see in the picture here. So apparently it was just sort of like levitating. There was loading of human cargo or human people, perhaps for trafficking. The other thing that Greer also mentioned in the PBD podcast was that it was more for psychotronic training. So that connection or that psionic connection to craft. And he said in that interview that perhaps these people were being taken to be trained to perhaps pilot some of these craft or operate some of the technology. So as a lot of us ET UFO experiencers know, we've been talking about it for a really long time. I know I publicly started talking about it when I was 21 and I'm 44 now. So a lot of us have been going on about this for a long time, talking about the telepathic and psychic connection that we have to ETs, to interdimensionals. It's something that I've experienced since childhood. And a lot of you in the audience I know have also experience these things. So it's good that we're hearing a little bit of disclosure now coming out around telepathic and psychic connection to do with some of these things. So it's a little bit exciting, but a little bit underwhelming at the same time. But at least it's been talked about. And this one was also interesting. Let me just pop this up. This one was around the USOs. So as we see here, let me just bring this up so you guys can hear it. So in this one, you'll also see, oh, hey, James, lovely to have you here. So aliens may have underwater bases on Earth. So this was through Tim Burchett, appeared on News Nation just recently. So let me play this for you.
This week, Tennessee lawmaker Tim Burchett sharing about an account from an admiral describing an underwater UFO as large as a football field, moving at hundreds of miles per hour underwater. And Representative Burchett is joining us live on News Nation Prime now. Representative, I appreciate you making the time tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. I was just out in the field. My donkeys got out, so you're a welcome relief from all that.
There is a whole story there, but first let's talk about, tell me more about the circumstances that you talked about this week. What did the Admiral disclose to you? When was this? What exactly did he say?
It's been a while. You know, I get a lot of people who want to disclose things to me, and I'm really cautious about it because, frankly, a lot of it is just theory and things like that. When you hear firsthand accounts, and this isn't the first one that I've seen. There's been sonar. I've talked to several different people that have said this thing, and I believe sonar is underwater. So the way our military hides this from us is because our sonar is probably high tech. I don't know. is more high tech than anybody else. But the odd thing is we want to hide it from the Chinese. But you and I both know, and America knows, that probably most of the components for our double secret sonar is probably bought from the Chinese. So they pretty much know what we got. And there's basically, I've been told there's 5 really deep sea areas that we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the surface of the ocean there. And you have a lot of UFO or UAP activity there. And people are sighting these things. You're having sailors, you're having different people all across the world. And the numbers seem to be higher in these areas. And that leads you to believe is something traveling light years? Is that even possible in our realm of thought? I mean, you're talking about the light from the closest stars left there before the time of Christ when we see it at night. So, you know, you have to think, well, maybe something is here, and has it been here long? And, you know, and I talk to folks in the Christian community and others that think it's part of the spiritual realm. I'm not doubting anybody's beliefs or anything. I'm not trying to rain on that. I'm just reporting what I've been told multiple times, and this is something I've pulled together. So I believe there's something going on, and our government, once again, is spending tens of millions of dollars on something that they
So I'm just going to pause that there. Just wanted to give you a taste of some of the latest things that have been coming out. And I've got another one to share with you as well. And thank you, Tim, for your comment. That's really interesting around the accounts that people talk about in the Navy. Okay. So this one was also a couple of weeks ago that this appeared, but I wasn't sure if all of our audience had seen it. So it just says, internet divided over the egg retrieval videos that aired on TV. So I think it was, what's his name? David Grush. Ross Colhart interviewed the man behind this. And so there's been a lot more coming forth to do with an egg that was seen with night vision goggles in a UFO retrieval. And let me just pop this here so you guys can see it. So the internet has been left divided after an egg-shaped craft recording during a UAP retrieval operation after the video was aired on TV for the first time. So News Nation aired the footage that clearly showed the object dangling in a sling from a helicopter on Saturday night. So this was a couple of weeks back, but filmed earlier. So the alleged aircraft was about 20 foot long, resembled the UAP encounter by the Navy off the East Coast in 2015, suggesting a connection between unidentified objects. So News Nation pointed out that in the video, the object had no markings, being perfectly smooth, no visible means of propulsion or a way to look outside. Now, these are similar to some of the orb sphere type crafts that I've also seen. Sometimes you will see when they're traveling, there's like a black hole or some kind of like negative entropy propulsion type system. So I'm wondering if this one was flying, if we would see the same sort of thing. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. And here is the footage. So that string that you see looks to be the one that's from the aircraft. And you can see here the sling under this egg type shape that they've wrapped around it. So with a lot of these types of UAPs or UFOs, what we also see is there's usually a telepathic connection. And even in some visions and dreams and things or experiences, because a lot of our experiences when we're an ET UFO experiencer, they happen when we're in meditation or when we're in dream realm. And it's like we're synchronizing or tapping into other higher dimensions or interdimensional places. So one of them I saw had more kind of like hand touch control panels and was able to fly the craft by putting hands on there. So there's a lot of other encounters I've seen recently where people are talking about this exact thing, that it's more that their hands are on a control panel. And I heard someone joke, I think it might have been Joe Rogan, saying that, you know, if we've got our hands on a control panel, maybe it's so we're not like on our phones and we're actually watching like where we're flying. But there is more of kind of like a mind link or a neural link type thing with the beings that are flying these craft as well. Also, when you hear about craft being brought down, what I've heard with some of them is that I guess the technology is a little bit different, because some people talk about, well, how can some of these craft be brought down? They're so high tech. They're coming in from other interdimensional places or from much, much further, like light years away. How can this be possible that some of these are downed or crashed? Now, one thing that I heard around the time of Roswell was that perhaps this was also around the time of different types of technology and like radio technology and things being developed, and even like electricity and lightning and storms and things of this sort of nature might also be more what could be likely to bring down some of these craft. So yeah, we were developing new sorts of technology that was released around the time that we also saw some of the Roswell incident and things. And I think there was also perhaps a craft down around a similar timeline that was not as widely talked about. It may have been in Mexico. I'd have to fact check and look that up. But yeah, interesting, because you wouldn't sort of think that something like this could be brought down, but you know, it's highly probable that they're working with a whole different type of technology to what we work with. So let me just see. Oh, awesome, Rosie. So Rosie's saying we had a lot of books in our school library. Read them all. Russian guy, can't recall the name. Yeah, there's photos online we've shared in other Galactic updates and things that have the Russian craft land. Like if you Google Russian military UFO, you'll see it's sort of like a saucer, but dug into the ground on its side. So interesting. And yeah, of course, we all can't wait for the day where we sort of have more information told to us. And also, you'll hear Greer talking about an NHI. He loves to use abbreviations and different terms. Now, whether it's just to create a cool catchphrase, but it means a non-human intelligence. So if you hear people mention an NHI, that's what it's referring to. So instead of using ET or alien, you'll hear NHI. That's also oh, and we've got Connie here as well. Thank you for joining us. And let me just see. Oh, I had this to share with you guys too. So when I'm looking at the retrieval of that craft, to me, it reminded me of the ones that we see in a lot of the old artwork and some of the Renaissance sort of style paintings and things. So you can see here someone flying an egg-shaped craft, and some of them seem to be almost in a meditative type pose flying, and you'll see it in this picture of Christ at the top. They're in the background, and you'll also see it. I think it was at whether it was the birth of Christ or a blessing or something. There's a UFO clearly in the sky, and we've shared this on other shows, and we've talked about also the Vedic craft connection. So when we start to look into different cultures, they have different vimanas and things like that. We actually did a show, I think it was last year, on flying vimanas that was actually really interesting, looking into the different craft, the different types and the shapes. Thank you, Tim. Well, I love putting this together for you guys. It's so much fun. It does take a long time to like research and to look into it all. The other note that I had too, actually this was in regards to prophecy. So some people talk about Baba Yaga, the lady that wore the scarf that was blind. I forget which country. I think it might have been Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia, somewhere like that. I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head. But she was said to prophesize that we would have UFO disclosure in 2025. Other people have said that no, they come from the same country, and that she never said that's new information that's been laid into there. Anyway, I think it will be an interesting year when it comes to disclosure and it comes to looking into a lot of these topics. The other prophecy thing that I did see was with the planes falling out of the sky. There was people that were prophesizing this last year, and people that were dreaming of these sorts of things too. So do take note of your dreams at the moment. And Tim is also saying they've been interacting with mankind for all time, according to Jacques Vallée. So yeah, I tend to agree with that too. I think that there is definitely a telepathic. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Rosie. Rosie's saying, appreciate you, Solreta. I've been a fan since 2020. Thank you, beautiful. I appreciate that. And oh, cool. It's awesome to see other people talking about Kesh Foundation. So Britt Marie is saying Kesh Foundation tells about a device that can take down planes. So I've actually flown to the States and experienced sitting inside the cache healing unit. So it is a form of plasma technology, and I've also experienced and and got to play with it. It's very, very interesting technology. So when you step into the cache plasma healing unit, and I will talk about the UFO type technology that are developing as well. So when I arrived in the States, it was interesting and very sad, but one of the people that were working with the cache technology actually died in a tragic car accident just before I was arriving. And what was interesting was I think he was actually not in the driver's seat with the crash recovery. There was some kind of weird story around that. We know that a lot of free energy devices and things and not wanting to be disclosed. Let me know if you guys want to show on this. I actually have like cache technology patches that I brought back with me from the States, so from some beautiful friends that that work with the technology. But essentially, the healing unit is different from, I guess, medbed technology. There is the consciousness element with it. So you're sitting in a frame that has this kind of plasma energy to it. Now, when you sit there, you talk to the device, you talk to the energy field, and just like you would a doctor, and you say, I'm having these kinds of, health problems, I would really love some help. And that helps the plasma to be directed to different areas of the body. Awesome. So we will do a show. Let me write a little note to do a show, because I do have some interesting guests also coming up, but I do love every now and then just putting these together for you guys. It takes a lot of work, so I don't always have the time. So we will do a show, and you guys might hear the storm starting to kick in here. It's almost like monsoonal type weather we're going to have today. But yeah, so with this, you do actually feel the energy of the plasma go and heal the certain areas, but it's just amazing to be meted and greeted with this kind of consciousness. The other one that I've experienced similar would be EES, Healing Technology System. What I also noted with the property that these people were living on, the plants were huge, like kale in the garden was like dinosaur size. So I'm going to try not to say too much, but they are working with technology that will lead to, I guess, more kind of like interstellar travel where we won't need to take food and things with us. So I'll save that for the other show. As hard as it is to sort of keep that in, I think that'll be a whole show in itself. And John is saying, whether RHE above happens, or whether it happens in 2025 or 2035, this will happen this way. They will be on the news, etc. Oh, see the above comment. Okay. So yeah, fascinating. And you guys let me know, like in the comments, if there's anything else you want me to do a show on, or anything else you would like me to put together research-wise. Oh, sending you guys some warmth your way. We still have the heat with our storm. Hope you're all bundled up and safe. Okay. Oh, so let me just see if there's anything else we needed to talk about. Yeah, I just think that like more the cache technology and things are leaning towards actual, whether it's like downloaded from the ETs. We even see that with, the Bellcraft, with the real and the, I guess like the Germany period of history with Hitler and that. We see like apparently like the real working with him, developing and receiving the plans to build the Bellcraft and that. So, the telepathic connection, even though it gets sort of dismissed or seen in like the woo side of things, I think we're going to be coming back around and visiting this as disclosure comes more to the forefront. And we can see here, Deanna, thank you for your comment. So Deanna said, Tesla had glass tubes that emit plasma for healing. I have one, 100 years old. It shorts, so I don't use it much. I had one too. So I had one of the Rife frequency machines with the glass plasma-filled tubes, and I've also worked in advanced beauty, working with plasma's technology of iontophoresis, which is really cool. It helps to propel hydration and skincare deeper in at a cellular level, which just using skincare itself can't do that. So we worked with Tesla technology, which was really cool. And I can see Rosie also saying, so Rita, I heard Alexander Quinn mentioning the earthquakes in Santorini, Greece, and solar storms. Yeah. So there has been a lot of people sending prayers and protection to that part of the world, and they have had a lot. It does seem to be quite abnormal. We have also, I guess, astrologically, Joni Portray talks a lot about different storms and weather patterns and that Vedically that are connected with some of the things that we're seeing, as well as ET disclosure being on the cards a bit more for this year too. Okay, let's jump into the cards. Let's have a look into, and yeah, we've seen the solar flare side of things too. So let me just see in the cards why we were prompted to look into this topic tonight. And if you have any questions, please put them together in all caps, or if you have any show ideas that you want me to do, please pop them in all caps so that I can write them down and start to build some files around that. So let's see. Okay, so the download that I'm getting around this is they were prompting us to look into this show and this topic tonight for us to form our own connection. So it's first to form a connection to your higher self, to God, to source. And then I'm also seeing like ET energies step in. So it's like working with your team, working with your spirit guides. Actually, the guys and I, so Phil and Greg and I, are doing a show in a couple of hours where we're going to be talking about spirit guides. We also have a telepathy show coming up too. So this is something that like ETs and spirit is really pushing to have more information on lately. So let's flick these cards over and see what we have. So it's interesting. We see perhaps a more negative agenda or more kind of like negative disclosure type of thing being pushed, or more looking at controlled opposition of this type of things. We do see hiddenness, but spirit is wanting for us to push forward, to tune out. They're giving me the word muck, which is a very Australian word. So they're wanting us to tune out all of the muck, all of the noise, and develop our own innate telepathic connections. So the cards that I have, the Tower card, followed by the Ten of Swords by Ruin. There is a lot of, I guess, deceptive energy. And I'm feeling throat chakra closed down as I'm starting to talk about this as well. And we see the Hermit energy. So there are those that are leading for more of sort of like a spiritual philosophy place. Spirit is guiding us to more look to this side of things, but don't believe everything that is being disclosed or everything that we are seeing as well. And I can see this is a good comment. So thanks, Britt. So Britt Marie is saying many places here in Norway have less chemtrails the last few days. I wonder if this is something to do with the USAID, much money being taken away. Yeah, interesting. And I don't know if I mentioned the fog that we had here last weekend. There was a really strange fog, which is highly unusual in Melbourne for summertime. I don't actually remember anything like that happening before. We have had smoke, with bushfires and things that we have here. But it was interesting. There's a few people that have come down sick that I know of personally and living on total opposite ends of the city, like living 2 hours apart. So they tended to have the same symptoms, sore throat, and airway issues, things of that sort of nature. I myself noticed it when I had to go out and drive between places because we had parties and things like that on for the kids. But yeah, of course, like taking on guard, things like that help to build the immune system, because we know when they've tested the fog in other countries, there seems to be a higher rate of parasites and things like that. And we've also seen in some of the countries, people filming inside, I think it was in the UK, filming mold and things like that forming on steering wheels and seat covers and things in the cars. And that was just over a matter of days. Whereas you would think for that kind of level of mold to form that you would need, weeks, months, or even years. It was like quite horrific, the level that you could see. And thank you for your questions, guys. I'm just highlighting them. So what we see after the Hermit card, and also we know that with this Tower card, this little symbol, this is about the words. So certain words will also be used to try and direct people, but the direction is more to a Ten of Swords, kind of like ending. And we see here the heart is the thing that is more glowing and surviving. So we need to get into using heart consciousness for discernment with a lot of this stuff. Oh, thanks, John. So Mike Jaco did a video a day ago about the fog was so thick in Florida where he lives was so crazy. Said it made his stomach feel sick. Yeah, so I actually got like instantaneous vomiting just come on. I think it was the morning after the first lot of fog. Oh, thank you. So yeah, that was really interesting. The other thing that we have was the Shaman card, the Prince of Cups. You guys know for me, this represents ETs or sort of flying in from one dimension into our realm. We also have the Seven of Swords. So while the Seven of Swords can represent watching out for sneakiness, watching out for words or stories and tales that are told, it also represents where we have to hold this one sword. So we have to be in alignment with our intuition, this energy of the moon. We have the sun here. Our own kind of like inner illumination is what we must be tapping into. And we have this age of Aquarius information energy to it as well. So try to tune out all of the distractions. Definitely dive into your own information, your own kind of like inner heart knowledge is the word Spirit keeps giving me too. So let me just see. Oh, and Jim. Hey, Jim. Lovely to have you here with us. So good to have Soul Family here. So yeah, so Jim said, I actually filmed it. Many particles floating in the air here in Florida. So just sending you guys blankets of love and protection. And we know with parasites, black walnut, clove, wormwood, these are really good things to look into. I've talked about it on other shows, really cheap. You can get it from Walmart. It's called Paracleanse. I've seen physically worms coming out of people, clients I've worked with, family after chemtrails and things like that. So we all should be looking into parasite cleanses. In Asia, it's done twice a year. So just make sure that you're protecting yourself. Also, heavy metal detoxes, chlorella, spirulina, upping your greens, getting alkaline. All these things definitely we should be researching and looking into. Or if you want to book a health session with me, that'll be on Mason Jupiter's booking page. You can use Jupiter to save 10%. And let me just see what else we've got. Yeah, good point, James. So the earthquake or the earthquake's core of the planet heating up poles, flipping in the timeline, possible more real than not, and time illusion. So I have seen other things where people saying that the poles have shifted. And I can see Adia, we've had fog here a lot too, and lots of people getting pneumonia. Yeah, I've heard of a few people getting pneumonia too. So interesting that we're able as a collective to see these things in the different states. And I can see here, I've shown the beings who look like 3 feet tall owls encountered 1 year ago. So Mike McClellan actually has books written on this. He's a lovely guy and researcher that talks about these 3 and 4 foot tall owl beings. Actually, he might be a really interesting guest to bring on. Let me just make a little note of that while we're chatting. Really lovely person. Would you guys like that? Would you like a show perhaps on the owl beings? Let me just see, there was some questions. So Tim is saying, so Rita, do you think the disclosure in the mainstream is necessary, or is it just the desire of those who have been waiting for a while? So I think it is, if we look at it from a kind of like narcissistic relationship point of view, where you know something to be true yourself, because I when there's polls in that, you see it's like 98% of people, I think it was in the States alone, believe that there are other forms of intelligent beings that are either visiting Earth or out there in the cosmos somewhere. So we it's something that we know to be true, that there is ETs and UFOs, but it's almost like we're handing that power over to the parent or to the oppressor. So I think a lot of people are wanting or waiting. It's like waiting for that shoe to drop, or it's like waiting for the behavior to become good, but we're not paying attention to the last 50 or so years of the non-disclosure. So I think that we're sort of waiting, but we know it to be true. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be waiting for it on a mainstream level. So Jake is saying, how much of the information out around the ETs and disclosure is false and fake, and how much is real? It feels like they're trying to mislead us about them. So I've heard things that, if you've got 10 different facts that are dropped, perhaps like in a show, there may be like one thing that's real and like 9 other things that are dropped in. So I've heard that it's more sort of, you'll get like a couple of truths that are hidden in, and then it's just really to distract us so that we don't know what to look for. We can't trust our own intuition and things then. But let's have a look into the cards around that. Thank you, Jake. And we'll get to the light language portion in a minute, trying to fit it within the hour. Okay. So let's look into the level of how much is fake in the disclosure at the moment. And I feel so much is still being suppressed. Like we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with things. So we have an Ace of Wands, the Strength card, the Empress, and Ace of Cups. So what I'm actually picking up on with these energies is that the ETs are actually, no more mucking it up, definitely. So yeah, we've got an Ace of Wands and the Strength card. So there may be where the ET energies are actually going to come in, and these beings are actually going to bring about disclosure themselves. So just as we've heard about, like with the orbs and things like that, and people having contact or having like more spiritual light abduction experiences, this is the energy or the realness of where spirit is wanting to direct us. So we've got the Empress, and interesting, she's sort of sitting in almost like a little bit of an egg type shape. This is often seen as kind of like a crystalline or a higher dimensional realm. And we're seeing Ace of Cups. So it's your heart, it's your feeling around this, and how we can tell the difference between fact or fake. So we definitely need to be meditating. We need to be feeling in, connecting with our heart, feeling into our higher self. And then you can ask this in your own body. And you can work with your body like a pendulum. So a tip forward is a yes, and a tip backwards is a no. So we can actually individually ask whether it's about disclosure that we're seeing in the news or our own individual experiences. So that's the answer that I'm getting around that. It's not even to trust your mind. This is Wands energy and Cup energy. So it's to trust your spirit, to trust your heart. So spirit's trying to give us a personal way to work with this as a little detector. And John is also saying some ETs live among us, look similar to us, and now others are interdimensional. Definitely. Let me see. Oh, you guys are welcome. I love looking into your questions. And Susie, thank you for your question. Can our body be inhabited by plasma beings? That is interesting. It's definitely something that you can feel in your energy field when you come into contact with plasma beings. And especially those that are more kind of, I guess, experiences. We see the flashes of light or plasma out the corner of our eyes. We tend to be able to capture sometimes orbs and things like that, or, the fairies and things in our videos or photos. But let's have a look into your question. So can our bodies be inhabited by plasma beings? There is what we get that we call walk-ins to do with like ET side of things. There is also where you have a walk-in go and that higher interdimensional being will actually physically take over someone's body. There'll be a soul contract, and you have where the other person sometimes will come back in. There will be a swap over, but usually there's a personality change within the person as well. So yeah, I guess that would perhaps be like in the category of yeah, of the plasma side of things. Oh, that's interesting, James. So I'm going to flip these cards. So this is in regards to the plasma side of things. And it's so funny because we have a card that looks like plasma. So we've got a 10 of coins. So there's different levels of like soul contracts. There's different, I guess, like higher energies that can come into the physical. So with a 10 of disc, you know, disc is very much like an earth physical energy, but sometimes when I see it with a 10, for me, this will also speak about soul family and things. So what we're seeing, if they need to hurry something up, or if there has been like a kind of a soul that can match like a similar frequency to get the job done, we do see where things can come in to override. So we've got a 5 of swords and a 10 of wands. Some of these will be positive beings that can come in to walk in or to overtake, and some will be negative. So what we're actually seeing here, this looks like a plasma energy, and we're seeing it go between 2 different realms. So this card usually represents the subconscious and conscious, but in this situation, we're seeing something come in and birth through this little canal into our world, into the conscious. So yeah, interesting. And the other thing too is you will sometimes even have connection with hybrid beings that will fly in a plasma ship. And the plasma is mainly also to protect their energy field because it is so, I guess, emotionally, mentally, and physically dense down here in this 3D realm. So their energy is not used to coming into interaction with it. So they do need to have more of a protective shield. We also see this with some beautiful autistic kids that are very much, as I talked about on the telepathy tapes episode on my channel with Phil, we talk about with some of these kids that they do actually meet psychically as well and interact. So yeah, life is definitely much stranger, or reality is definitely much stranger than we could ever imagine. And I know Jake has worked with people that are walk-ins as well, working as a quantum hypnotherapist. And yeah, I've heard this before, that some say Abraham Lincoln also may have been a walk-in. So really interesting. And just seeing if there's anything. So John is saying, I think about all the truth that's coming out now in the US, and it's mainstream, more to come. Not enough though, we're ready for this in the US, and same for ET disclosures. 100% agree with you. All right, so let's have a look, and we're going to have a look into why Spirit wanted to talk about light language for tonight. What is it on a message level that they're wanting to bring through? Oh, hey, Laurie. Is there a road out that window? If not, something was out there, plasma-like. Interesting. There is a road out there, but it's still much, much further kind of past the bushes. Sometimes at night you can see, you know, car lights, things like that, but they're still a bit harder to see. So interesting. Or there may have been a white car there. It also may have been my partner. He may have pulled up in the driveway and I've just not seen it. Okay, so we're looking into the light language side of things, and I'm going to flip these cards. Oh, this is so beautiful, guys. No wonder why we were drawn to talk about this subject tonight and to actually do some light language. Helicopter flying over the house right now. Interesting. So we've got a 6 of discs, the card of success. This for me is working together in a group, and we also see its activation. And we also see here this beautiful rose Christ consciousness energy that comes with this. And I actually had like a whole nother 3 pages of notes connected with light language, but we just never know where Spirit's going to direct us. But essentially, before I get into it, I'll just top off the headings that I had written down. So we see an alchemization that's also wanting to come through with this light language. They're wanting to give us upgrades. They're wanting to work with us in this beautiful unison energy. We also see the golden Ori Malkith here. What this represents is it's like the temple, and it's about the energy or this God higher self frequency that we're holding in the temple. So this is about us uptaking and holding in higher frequencies. And even in different cultures, we see where song lines were passed down, where there was activation, where there's speaking in tongues. I'll talk a little bit about that too. Oh yeah, we could always do a light language activation show as well. That would be fun. Okay. And John's saying, I love light language. It's so familiar. And Solreta, hands down, best in the world at it. I dabbled in it a bit. You dabbled in it. Awesome. Thanks, John. That's so sweet. So yeah, we have the peace card. So it's definitely like a peaceful alliance energy that's wanting to come in. And Four of Cups, they're wanting to have their own kind of disclosure. We know the Four of Cups, we're looking physically for something on a 3D level. So this is getting us into a beautiful, more kind of like sensitivity. It's helping us to develop and work with the energy fields and the light body as well. And I can see James is saying energy fields tampered with Solreta's beautifully right heart, felt intuition, heart to brain, not the other way around. Thank you. I hope I read that right. Awesome. Jody's starting to feel the energy come in. So am I. So we will get to it. And I have been thinking, if this is something that we should do, maybe doing, activations, or even if it's like once every couple of months or once a month. Let me know if it's something you guys are interested in doing. So with my little notes that we've got, so we hear about like mantras, and also Phil and I were talking about it on episode 1 with the Cosmic Universe show that we did here on Mason Jupiter. We talked about with sound being one of those first things that was uttered in the creation of our reality, in the creation of our galaxy and our Earth. So there is something that sound actually does and vibrates and dances with on a quantum level. So just to give you a quick kind of understanding with light language, it is a language that's very ancient. It is a language that helps us to connect more with the soul level of who we are on a galactic level. And cool. Good to know. All right. It sounds like some of the votes are coming in. So yeah, do let me know if this is something that you want and I can do something. But yeah, so with light language, when we do it today, try not to understand with the logic mind. This is really about absorbing and soaking in what feels good to you. Sometimes there's a sense of familiarness. There's a sense of kind of telepathy and empathy that the language works with. It's not like a direct translation like Spanish for English. So yeah, just have that in mind with what we're talking about. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, you hear about it in Christianity. They talk about mentions of speaking in tongues, the Korathians or Corinthians. I'm probably not saying that right, but they talk about the spiritual gift of speaking in tongues and it being a divine language. It's also mentioned in the Keys of Enoch. And I think Rudolf Steiner also talked about people that would see letters that are lit with a flame. And that's similar to sometimes how I see light language too. So some people will see light language, or they'll get codes and symbols and things also come in. I used to actually do one-on-one healings where I worked with Syrian light language, and I would work with the energy body like a computer. So this is also where huge, amazing transformations and healings would take place. It does take a lot of energy to do that, though, and I did like doing it in person. So ancient Egypt, we also see that there was texts and things that talk about like sacred utterances, working with symbols, invocations, sacred words, and things that were used. Yeah. So they talk about it in Enoch. They also talk about it connected with. I think it was John Dee talking to Archangel Uriel, receiving a crystal that he could use to communicate. There's also word of sacred angelic language being like light language too. Awesome. So we see others. Adia, I tried to communicate with my cosmic mom using light language, and she told me I could just use telepathy. So sometimes when we're actually using light language, we're self-activating. So this is also for you guys to work with at home. And it's also said that, I think it was in the Bible, there would be those born that speak light language and they would go on to activate others. and then those others would go on to activate people as well. So we see it in Sufism, in mystic Islam. They talk about a spiritual knowledge beyond ordinary language. Even Rumi expressed it, longing for a connection to the divine that transmuted human language. And I just found out last night that in my astrology, I have a spiritual fire trine. I think it had a kite on it that Rumi also had. I have an earth one and a fire one, which is like highly unusual. So that was really fascinating. So there's different, I guess, people that have worked with spiritual things that will also have this astrologically. That's a whole nother show in itself. Native American, indigenous traditions, they also talk about this. Mysticism in ancient Greece, they talk about connecting with higher realms, certain vibrations and harmonies that can help align your soul and help align your body. So this communication can transcend human language and even, perform miraculous healing. Channeled text as well, we see like the law of one, the raw material also talk about higher communications and things. And we see it linked, I guess light language more started to become more prominent. We do hear it back in these ancient texts, but we saw it more come into, I guess, the modern day internet world around the late 90s. And probably more the early 2000s. I think it was 2001, I think, when I started to speak about it publicly. It has been around for a long time. I also get the name star language that comes with this, and I've worked with Japanese TV, and they call it space talk. So you'll see it come up under many things. But that's enough of the practical side. I just love to give you guys like little links and like where you can see that it's like throughout history and things. Oh, and thank you, Corbin. So yeah, check out Julie's Magical Placements course for more on kites. That would be fascinating if you want to find out about it in your chart specifically. Okay, so let's get in right as I want to get into the light language. We have a plane coming over. So get a sip of water, find a comfortable place, and just make sure you're going to be undisturbed. Yeah, isn't it cute? I love that term. And they're probably one of my favorite cultures. When I've been out working with light language or space talk, and when they've seen the UFOs come over, they get so excited. It's such a beautiful joy, kind of like dolphin moment, meaning like in that heart space. Okay, so the plane's gone. So let's all just tune in and just take a few moments just to center yourself, perhaps hand on heart, hand on belly, and we're going to connect our higher self. So just feeling from your beautiful heart and your crown, connecting to source, connecting to God, and connecting also with that ET version of yourself. And some of these versions of us are also coexisting in different interdimensional states. And we can actually reach into those beautiful states and discover more about who we are, why we're here. This is something I do in the one-on-one readings. So I will translate to the English in a moment. So just be open to receiving colors, light, sound, and any messages that come to your mind or body. Alosono halukaya naratakaya nuharala. Alosala nalatukaya naratakaya yanhatar. Iashala naratakaya yunahatar. Miasala naratakaya laharasor. Iashala naratakaya nahahyarta. Iala kaya naratakalo so naratakihar. Iashala naratakai. Miala naratakalo so nanatakaya. Iala naratakaya sanihataka. Ia no halukaya soho. Iashala naratakaya artor. Miala naratakalo hosear. Iasha naratu halakar. Iala naratakalo sohiayara. Hiashur natalo kayo hiarate. Miar naratakalo hosearate halukar. Iashala naratakaya nahar. Iayana telo kolosiha naratakayala. Miasala naratakaya yahatar no hoyara. Yala neretakaya lokaharnia. Ia shara na halo kara tokar. Mia yana to la kayaro suhor. Ia shana halu kor. Ia lenerte kayo halo kore. Ia shalenare koya natakar. Ia lenare hato koeli hia sotoro. Mia narat lo koyaro sote arat naha. Ia shala la harto kaya nator. Ia lenarte koelo se hato koya. Ia shar narto kaya le hato kor. Mia narto kaya lo nata ke hasura notor. Ia shar no la kaya na hatore. Mia la narto kaya lo so hatari. Ia sharatar. Al no to alo kosi har. Ia yana halo kaya yaroto kosi. So what I was being shown with that was, and let me know in the comments below what resonated with you, if there were any colors or messages or symbols or light that you saw, any emotions or empathic feeling that you felt. I see Jake saying, ringing in my left ear. So what I saw was this beautiful golden divine light, and I saw all of us individually and collectively being joined or kind of merged telepathically, harmoniously with this light and the beings that are still around us now. I'm hearing the word ancient ones. And what they were sharing was an activation. I also saw a golden temple that was in interdimensional, higher realm frequency that we were all being invited to. And they were also saying that we can come back at any time. They're giving me the name O'Hara. So O apostrophe H ARA. So O'Hara. So Temple O'Hara. We can go back to this anytime. All we have to ask is that we are transported or energetically taken and connected with the Temple of O'Hara. And with this, I felt that there was an activation coming in each and every single one of our chakras. They were clearing and working with the channel and helping ground the spiritual frequencies harmoniously into Earth. So I also saw what they were showing me, like little guardians or keepers that are around with us, working with us in unison while we're in this Earth mission, in this Earth reality. I also felt a connection to the spiritual nature of water too. So they're asking us to reach out to connect more with water for her programming, her healing, her harmony, and the divine that she works with that sparks this light within us too. So she's actually wanting to activate with us. She's wanting us to also work to help purify so that she can hold higher forms of consciousness here on the planet too. So let me know in the comments if there's something that you want to share about this. So anyway, that was the English translation. Of course, there's always so much more in terms of packets of light that's harder to put into words, but you get the gist. And I'm just going to write down in the comments the spelling that I saw and felt. So it was O'Hara. And I'll just flash this onto the stage too so that you can see this. So just going over the comments, let me see. Oh, awesome comment. Corbin's got one. I want to see your chart. That would be so fascinating to see. And you're such a good person with astrology. I'd love to show you mine as well. So, so Jake's got ringing in his left ear. We have Tim. Wow, I saw a plasma being to the right floating in the air with a cord going into your head. Okay, I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I heard, so Susie said, I heard a call to go home. Yeah, so there was a very home-like feeling with this beautiful golden O'Hara temple. And interesting, I just made the connection. So when we talk about, I guess, chakras and we hear about the Hara, we also hear about like the Dantian. So is this temple, even though I'm seeing it sort of outside on a higher dimension, it does actually feel like we access this from within us too. So I feel it's getting to the still place within that we go into. So Rainbow Sun said, white, blue pillar of light, sparks of stars, or maybe fairies. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And Susie, not come home, but go home. Interesting. And Britt Marie, I saw an angel with golden hair dressed in a blue holding a torch. Beautiful. Thank you. Jake saying, I felt the activation and the cleansing for sure. Had some emotion and lots of different images. It feels like a purge. Yeah, it feels like it for me as well. Just, I feel like a clarity, a cleanly kind of sense. It just feels very beautiful. So, Jody B, my head was unwinding and I heard let go and trust. And Carol, I also saw a golden light. Beautiful. Thank you, Connie. My pleasure. Thank you. And Adia, I felt the activation and I saw us being drawn up into the sky. I saw a yellow or gold and I saw a large bell-shaped object. Interesting. And a thug of light humming, a sound, a vibration communicates to the cells in the body. Very interesting. We also hear sometimes that humming sound with UFOs. And thank you for joining us as well. So Rainbow Sun, yes, our horror line. So this will be something for you guys to have a look at after the show and find out a bit more about. And Deanna, interesting that you say some sounds. Both me and my dear friend, when we start talk, I felt home crying. I felt strong, soft, divine feminine. She touched every one of us on the head or heart. Thank you for sharing that. I really resonate with that beautiful message. And Thug of Light, I hummed through the chakras, Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with us as well. And you'll see that on some of the chakra beautiful charts or the bodies where they have the chakras, if you guys want to see a visual reference for that. Thank you so much for this wonderful activating show. You're so welcome. I wanted to do something kind of more, update wise, but to have a galactic update at the same time. So I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you all. So Laurie's saying, still feeling tingling on the left side of my head, moves under my chin and back. Interesting. This is around, so we have your central vessel meridian and your governing vessel, which is kind of what keeps that beautiful divine protective egg-shaped field. So it sounds like you're getting a little bit of meridian energy work too. So let me just bring up little reminders for you guys. So we do have the starseed reading that is available, which is a lot of fun to look into, tap into your galactic heritage. And for those that have had readings with me, just like in these shows, I try to make them as information-packed as we can fit within the hour. You also have time to ask questions in this space as well. And you will see on the Academy, Julie's astrology as well. So magical placements, I think, is the one that you look for, that Corbin was also saying, to find out more about like your trine and your kite placements. This will be really, really interesting for a lot of you to discover more about yourself too. And we also have my aura class, and I love hearing what you guys are getting out of it. It's so fascinating, and I'm so grateful to be sharing this information with the Mason Jupiter audience. And yeah, thank you everyone else for also being here. I also see James said you saw your native horse. Awesome. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And I look forward to bringing you more beautiful connected shows like this. And Thug of Light, beautiful. I think I did this as a child and it was called Speaking in Tongues. Yeah, a lot of us have done this since we were children. Oh, you're so welcome. All right, well, I'm going to get going, guys, but I just want to thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Tim. I just want to thank you so much for being here with us, and I love you all very much. Hope you have a magical Valentine's Day, and thank you for your Valentine's Day messages too. Bye.